Hi, my name's Mark Matea, and I'm here to talk to you about something I call thirsty. And rather than try to explain, I'm just going to jump right into it. I think it'll make sense and you'll see why. So, again, my name, Mark Matea. I was raised in New Kensington, Pennsylvania. Today I live in Carlisle, PA. I'm married. I have 5 children, 2 of my own, 3 stepchildren. I have worked in retail in my life. I've been a piano tuner. I've been a studio musician. Today, I'm an attorney for over 25 years, and I've been following Jesus for over 40 years. Now, I want to talk to you today about caring for our loved ones and being thankful for what we have, and I'm going to talk to you about providing clean water. Even if you've done that in the past and you've supported some ministry or some secular group providing water, it's likely you're going to hear something today that you haven't heard before. So, caring for our loved ones. Well, I'm thankful that I've been able to help raise children, and I want to talk to you about that just a little bit. So, what is it that made it possible for me to raise children? Well, for one, we had a political structure in our country that allowed us to do that, right? We have a constitution that has been around for over 200 years. Now, I know there are people who are saying, well, we have to do this, the Constitution, and this is and that, and this is wrong, and that's wrong. As an attorney, I'm going to tell you, our Constitution's fine. It's in good shape. Our Constitution is over 200 years old. The average age of constitutions around the entire world is 17 years. So ours has stood the test of time just a little more. It'll be fine. It was fine before a big ruckus happened, and it'll be fine after the ruckus goes. Okay, it's fine. So we had that system in place, this political system that allowed me to raise kids, to raise a family. We have protection provided. Nationally, our armed services, locally, the men and women in blue are first responders. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't scared. There was a political system in place that allowed me to raise my kids, and there was protection so that I could sleep in peace. Thank God for those fundamental things that we have here in our country. And part of this is raising awareness for those things. So for me and my family, I raised 5. I raised my 2 girls. Pamela, my oldest, she's a musician. She learned how to love music from her dad. Today, she's a music therapist and a remarkable musician. Rachel, she's our ballerina. Rachel, she wanted to pursue ballet, and I took her up and down the East Coast. I was free to do so. And I bought her point shoes, and more point shoes, and more point shoes. And if you're a ballet dad or mom, you know exactly what I mean. Taylor, my one stepson, Taylor, he's a bench jeweler. He does amazing things. And I watched him go from never having done any jewelry to doing wire wrap to doing amazing jewelry. Austin, the oldest, he's a sous chef, like an artist with food. Really, really remarkable to watch. Today, he's a mature young man. He will quickly do anything he can to help you if you need help. And Miranda, immensely gifted in the arts. She is a graphic design artist in Manhattan. That's probably all you need to know about how good she is at what she does. My wife and I, we helped all these kids just like any family would. And so now when I'm doing this presentation live, I will have now a photo of a family from Mozambique. And it's a real photo a friend of mine took from a family that he knows there. And I'll say, what about this man? Did he was he hoping one of his kids was going to be a bench jeweler, or was he worrying about point shoes? No, things are tougher for them where they're at. And was he thinking about college? No. And then I have the next slide of another family, similar family. And I said that there were 2 things that made the difference between what I was able to do and what they are or not able to do. I said it's the political freedom and the protection, and those are both true. But there's another thing, and that is the unwavering ability to get to clean water. I mean, you go into any building in town, whatever town you're in while you're watching this, and turn on the faucet in the kitchen or in the bathroom, and the clean water comes out. These 2 dads for these 2 families, again, the videos that I have a total of about 10 slides, and each time I'll just mention them. These 2 dads, they would want to provide all the same things, but I can't give them a constitution. I can't give them political freedom and protection, but I can give them clean drinking water. Okay, and it's something we take for granted here in our country. You don't want to have to give your kids filthy water to drink. And sometimes that's all that's available is nasty water, and sometimes they have to walk for hours to get it. So we're a wealthy country in the United States, and my thinking, we should help. We should do what we can. So I did some research. My wife and I, a few years back, we saw that we were going to have a little bit of opening financially, and we said, before we do anything for us, let's go with one of these Christian ministries and sponsor a well. Let's just do that. And that was just such a blessing, and you can't imagine how wonderful that feels. And we did, and I was happy to do it. Afterwards, I got thinking about it, and I thought, when I buy a piece of new equipment for my office, a printer or something, for my law office, I do due diligence. I do a lot of studying. I want to make sure I'm getting the best price, and I've been known to haggle prices down. And I thought I didn't do that, and that's no offense to the ministry that we blessed with this. So I started doing some research. I saw that several years ago, Charisma magazine did an article, and it was very disturbing. Over 50% of the wells in the continent of Africa are inoperative 5 years later. Over 50%. And the reason is, whether it's a secular group or a Christian group, they don't do a whole lot of planning, foresight. So they might look at an area and say, oh, there's these 5 villages that, we could put this well right in the middle of those 5 and they can all benefit from it. And in theory, that's fine. And the 5 villages agree they're going to work together, so they leave this sort of default co-op behind. And what they didn't learn was that those 5 villages have been killing each other for 200 years. And this doesn't have, it's not likely going to work, and generally doesn't work. And what happens is, as soon as the well needs some, repair, needs some maintenance, it's your fault. No, it's your fault, and nobody fixes it. So 5 years later, over half of them are inoperative. So I started researching and thinking there has to be a better way. And so I was looking for organizations, Christian organizations, that share the good news of the gospel, and also do have a better track record than this. I found 2 organizations just like that really have mastered this a little bit more. One of them is called Water for Life Mozambique, and they deal strictly in the nation of Mozambique. They chose that because it's the second poorest nation. And the other is called GFA Gospel for Asia. It's now GFA World, because they now have just recently moved into Africa as well. They've been over 25 years. And these 2 organizations, very interesting. They didn't know each other before. They do now. They didn't know each other before. They have very similar templates that they use. They also, just like anybody else, they look for the need. Where's the need? But they only dig a well when at all possible on property that's already owned by a church. So a church already owns this property, and the church is they have to agree that it's going to be their stewardship. This is part of our stewardship to Christ. We're going to take care of this thing. And that tends to take a lot of those other issues away. The church is responsible. The church is the one who has to take care of things. The other things, one of the other things these 2 organizations, GFA. Oh, by the way, GFA, when they dig a well, they call them Jesus wells, which I think that won't be hard to remember. Jesus wells and Water for Life, not hard to remember. One of the other things that they each do, they've done independently, is they dig deep wells, and I believe I've got this right. That means it's at least 230 or 235 feet. And they create basic pumps that you can purchase all of the parts from a hardware store in their country. So if something needs to be repaired, some general maintenance, we don't have to fly somebody in from the States to fix it. That's a big deal. They also, each of them, hire nationals to do all the work. So there's not a group of engineers flying in from Texas or California to do all the work. They hire nationals to do the work. That tends to keep the costs down. I know the wells that GFA digs, um, the average cost is under $1,750. The average cost for most of the Christian organizations is $4,000 to $5,000. The wells that they dig for Water for Life Mozambique are more expensive. They cost a little. They cost a little bit more, but they have this great long track record. They actually keep digging or keep providing water. The average cost, Arnie Eastburns told me, is about $6,700. But again, the money stays in Mozambique. It stays there by and large because they hire all locals to take care of it. So I mentioned Arnie Eastburn. He's the chairman. He's the head person at Water for Life Mozambique. He's taught me a few things. Some of this obviously is clear. Water is a basic need. We take it for granted. I mentioned already they are the second poorest nation, Mozambique, and clean water is simply not available for the majority of those in their country, and the political structure doesn't support it. Whatever water is available is what they take, and if you are going to be watching this program, there's a slide of Arnie showing who he is, and then next there's a slide showing some of the places where these families have to get water. Sometimes it's a nice clean spring, sometimes it's a filthy, dirty pool that you and I would never, ever give to our kids. But you give that because that's all you have. So the truth is, having a bad choice, I suppose, is better than no choice. But Arnie and his crew, they come in, they dig a deep well. What's improved with the deep well with clean water? Well, the diet is improved immediately. The health and the body's ability to fight off disease is better. They improve personal hygiene and sanitation. And I said health, just overall. The overall health is just so much better. This allows young girls to stay in school because the fetching water often falls to the girls, to the women. This improves safety for both of them as well, with the girls and the women, because they often attract unwanted attention when they have to travel miles to pick up whatever water they can. And I want you to imagine having to get a 3-gallon bucket of water, a 5-gallon bucket of water, and carry that for 2 miles. 3 miles. And that's the only water you can get that day, so you've got to go back there and get that water. And it's not like you can stop at Starbucks on the way, That's the only water they have. And imagine growing up and watching your mother and your older sisters do this, and as you're growing up, you recognize that is my life in front of me. I'm going to be carrying water the rest of my life. And that dirty water, when we have to drink it, it gives us diseases and makes us sick, and diarrhea and just awful things. 60% of the population in Mozambique does not have clean water. So Arnie and his group, they're digging these deep wells. The wells can serve hundreds of people, up to 4,200 gallons a day out of these wells. They simply give the locals a better life. Again, what do? They identify the need. They look for a church or a denomination that already owns that property. They dig deep wells, not shallow wells, and the wells are there. These wells, the lifespan of these wells is 20 years, and there's none of this. It's going to be gone in 5 years. This can last a long time. And I mentioned that there are 2 groups. So there's another group I want to highlight, and the Gospel for Asia. They dig Jesus wells. So they are in Asia. They've dealt in Pakistan and India and different parts of Asia. Caste system. There are whole, parts of their population that politically, we're not going to provide for them. We just aren't. We're not going to. So they don't have hope of having water, clean water, for us. When it's impossible. There's no chance that that's going to come up in the future for them. And then they hear about a Jesus well, and then a pastor comes along who's willing to help them, and it provides them this amazing hope. And children who have spent, just like what we talked about in Mozambique, every day walking, and it's not safe, and they're getting water. Suddenly, when there's a